So like every other business, we have had to adapt to fully remote working, but I think we were probably better prepared for this than other companies. We're already used to working with colleagues all over the world. In the registry team, we have people on several different continents, and obviously part of a group that has people everywhere in the world. So I think we were used to that and working with different people in different time zones. But we also, as part of our business continuity planning exercise, we do a lot of thinking about how to keep things running if things go wrong. So we had planned for natural disasters and civil disobedience and all kinds of scenarios that prevented us from working from our office for an extended period of time. So when the pandemic came along, we realised that we would have to close the office, and it would be for a while. The only thing we really needed to do was remind people to take their laptops home at the end of the day on the last day that the office was open, and that was it. Well, as a business, we've got used to dealing with unpredictable change, whether that's because of the growth of the larger CentralNic group, and obviously the larger group grew out of CentralNic Registry, or because of things like GDPR, which come along and knock you for six, and you have to stop and reassess everything you're doing in the year because there's an upcoming change that's very disruptive. But I think fundamentally, the one reason why we've been able to adapt so easily is because a lot about the registry hasn't really changed over the last few years. The people are still the same. We still have the same people in the same roles that they had 5 or even 10 years ago. And of course, I've been around for over 20 years. So when you've been working in a company for that long, you're used to seeing change happen, and you're more adaptable, and you're able to deal with it more easily than maybe if you've only been with the organisation for a short period of time and aren't used to seeing it change over long time frames. And that gives us a continuity, and that continuity gives us stability. And when you've got a stable core and a stable platform, that means you can respond to unpredictability more easily, because you know that you've got something that's reliable and supports everything else. So the most obvious thing is that industry events, which have always been a really important way for us to engage with our partners, meet them face to face, they've gone away, they've gone online. So we've had to adapt, and we've worked hard to try and find new ways of engaging with our partners beyond just regular video calls. This video is a good example of that. And you may also have seen that we've been running webinars recently. That's something that has been happening elsewhere in CentralNic, but the registry is also doing this sort of thing. And we think that they're really useful, and I think that it's a good way of sharing knowledge and sharing experience and sharing our expertise with our registry partners. And we would actually like to hear from our partners if there are topics that they think are interesting that they would like to hear about. Thinking about how we work as a company, the transition to remote working is an opportunity to rethink how we do our jobs. For example, when everyone's in the office together, it's easy to coordinate and very easy to share information informally, and you build up sort of implicit knowledge base that is inaccessible to someone who's not in the same room as you. So when you're a remote team, you have to find ways of replacing those things that don't rely on you being in the same room. You have to formalize a lot of things that were previously done informally. So you need things like daily stand-ups, you need good documentation, you need good processes that are written down so that people who come into the company, so come into the team, can pick up that stuff that would otherwise have to be learned through implicit in-room communication. And the benefit of all of that is that when you go forward into the future, you're improving your processes and you're improving the knowledge of the team. That means that as a team you will get better, because there's less reliance on the informal processes, the informal knowledge, and more reliance on scalable, reliable, and trustworthy processes that really matter. I think it's obvious to anyone that our industry is consolidating. We're transitioning from a world in which there are hundreds of independent companies operating in registry and registrar space to a world where there may only be a few dozen, with the possible exception of the CCTLDs, which are naturally going to remain independent. In the last year, we've seen GoDaddy acquire New Star's registry business, we've seen Donuts acquire Affilius, and of course CentralNic parent company group has been busy in the ad tech world, and we've acquired several businesses in that area in the last 18 months. What that means is it's going to become harder and harder for independent registry operators to find service providers who aren't also competitors. So if you look at our competition, for example, you'll see that almost all of them own and operate their own TLD portfolio and will be competing with their registry service provider customers for shelf space on registrar storefronts. One of the things that distinguishes us is that we don't own and operate our own TLDs, with the possible exception of .sk. We don't compete with our customers, unless you're very keen on slowback domains. So the big highlight for me is being able to bring in fresh talent into the registry team. Since I started as head of registry services, we've expanded the team to support our registry partners. So we brought in Kelly Hardy as head of policy. We've also brought in Michelle Cruden to support Kelly in that role. She is going to be providing strategic support for our registry partners and to act as a bridge between them and our registrar channel. We created a customer success team, and we've put people into that team to support our partners on a day-to-day kind of tactical approach. We've also brought in more developers and engineers doing amazing things in the technology side with the new registry portal, with our DNS analytics system, and with the business intelligence system. They're all going live later this year. We're going to spend the rest of this year talking to our partners, reinforcing the fact that we're much more than just a technology service provider. We've always wanted to help our partners achieve their missions by providing not just technology, but also marketing support, policy support, and strategic advice. We'll be continuing the rollout of the new tools and technologies that we think will enable our partners, for example, the DNS analytics and the business intelligence systems. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to improve the performance, the reliability of our platforms, to make sure they continue to deliver technical excellence for many years to come. And I'm also really looking forward to being able to travel again to meet our friends and partners at ICANN meetings here in our office in London and also around the world. Well, I'm going nowhere. This is the job that I've wanted for at least a decade. Wasn't able to have it because there was Ben there who was kind of hard to get rid of. But now the group's got to the point where Ben's too busy doing other things and isn't able to manage the registry business full time. I'm able to step in and take on that role. There was a brief period where I was taken away from the registry team, but I'm really happy to be back and working with our registry partners again. I'm really looking forward to seeing what will happen in the next 20 years. Now can I have some Haribo?